So I have just completed a knit round with my gray yarn, and I'm going to need to pick up the purple and do a brioche purl round. Okay. When you look on the back side, since in this case both yarns are in the back, it's a little tricky to see which one is on top of which and which direction the purple needs to be grabbed from. But since I just knit with the gray, it's sort of on top of the purple. So I don't want to bring the purple on top of it. I want the purple to stay on the bottom when I grab it to do my next row. So this is what that looks like. So in this case, the last stitch that I just did was a brioche knit stitch with the gray, and the purple's underneath. So I want to take that from underneath to start my brioche purl row. Now I also want to tell you a little bit about reading your brioche knitting. Reading as in understanding what you see, even if maybe you've lost your place in a pattern. Okay, so I knew that I needed to use my purple because I had just finished a gray round, but what if I hadn't touched my knitting in a month or so and I didn't remember what my last round was? Well, the way I can tell that the last round was gray is because I have twice as many gray loops on my needle right now. My yarn overs are gray. That means that's the last color I used. And since we alternate in brioche, it's time to use the purple. Now I made sure not to cross in the back. If you do, it just makes a little float. So, you know, if you had a gray column and you crossed the purple, you would just have this little, it would look kind of like this, a little float over your nice knit column. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, so I know I have a purple row. Now I need to figure out, am I doing a brioche knit row or am I doing a brioche purl row? Well, by reading that this is a gray side, see how my nice vertical knit columns are gray? On the back side, they're purple. All right, this is a gray side. So if I'm working with purple, that means it's going to get purled. If I were looking at this side, the purple would be getting knit. All right, so I'm using purple and I'm doing a brioche purl row. Now, am I going to start with a slip-one yarn over or brioche purl? Well, sometimes the first stitch, in this case you can see it very clearly that this is a stitch with its yarn over. But in some cases the first stitch is a little harder to see. So you can always skip ahead to the second stitch. I see that the second stitch, because remember the yarn over is part of this first stitch, second stitch is a nice gray knit. So that's the one that I'm going to be slipping in this row. So I know I need to start with a nice brioche purl, and then I'm going to slip one yarn over and just alternate for the rest of my row. Once you get used to this, you're not going to have to worry on just straight brioche knitting where you don't have any increases or decreases and you have your two colors. You're always going to be able to tell which color you should be using on your next round and whether you should be knitting or purling. And that's going to make things a lot easier for you. Okay, I want to show you something that happens at the end of my brioche purl row that I just did in purple. So I started the row with a brioche purl followed by a slip-one yarn over, which means I should be ending with a slip-one yarn over. And I have done that, but I just want to show you that. Okay, see, this was my last brioche purl and this is my slip-one yarn over. Do you see how my yarn over is just kind of hanging loose in the back? That's correct, but don't forget when you come back around with your next color, don't forget that you were doing that, because it might come off. And you might need to brioche knit and see that somebody's missing its yarn over. I just want you to know where it went, and you can put it right back. Now, I want to show you again how to avoid crossing your yarns in the back. Okay, I know I need to use the gray next. All right, so the last thing I did was the purple. I have this yarn over that's sitting here, and here's my gray. Okay. That's how I want to take it. I do not want my purple to be on the left of the gray, because then I'm actually crossing it. It's hard to see, but that is not what I want to do. I want to take the gray to knit with and let my yarn over from the purple just sit on top. So again, let's talk about reading your brioche. I know a lot of people don't want to deal with it, they just want to stick to their pattern. But when you're ready and you want to listen, you're going to find that this is helpful. All right, I know I need to use my gray because all my yarn overs from the previous row are purple. So I just used my purple. It's time to use the gray. Okay. Now I'm looking at the side I'm about to knit, and I can tell that this is a gray side. All of my brioche knit V columns that pop forward are gray on this side. This is the purple side. So if this is my gray side, the gray is the yarn I'm knitting with. Now I have to decide, is my first stitch going to be a brioche knit or is it going to be a slip-on yarn over? Let's see. Okay, my first stitch appears to be a single purple loop. Now remember, let's say these were right next to each other. How do I know that that is not the yarn over that goes to this stitch? I'm going to tell you. The yarn over is never the same color as the stitch it's paired with. So I know that this yarn over has to go to that stitch right there. So this is a single loop, and this is the stitch and its yarn over that are going to be brioche knit together. All right, so that's how I know I need to start with a slip-one yarn over. And now I am good to go.